Hello everyone, welcome to the Net Zero Energy Building Knowledge Series. It's always great to have you here. A little quick introduction about the program. This platform is meant for the industry to share their expertise and showcase projects, technology, and exchange ideas to fuel the discussion on energy efficient buildings and NZEB. This program is under the METRI program sponsored by USAID. METRI stands for Market Integration and Transformation for Energy Efficiency. There are a host of activities we do under the program, and you can learn all about it on the website, which is metri.edsglobal.com. I'm Prachi, and I'll be hosting today's webinar session. Today's topic is recalibrating the post-pandemic housing landscape. We know that sustainably built homes are inherently oriented toward creating healthy living environments. It is such an important factor now and going forward in the post-pandemic scenario. The pandemic has reinforced the need for making green and healthy homes accessible to one and all. But how do we get there? How do we create those market mechanisms to bring developers on board or make green design guidelines accessible to architects? Obviously, there's a great need to bridge the gap at various levels in the ecosystem of affordable housing. And one such initiative is being led by IIFL's Green Partnership Initiative. So in this webinar, let's understand their perspective on building green at no cost. Joining us today is CEO and ED at IIFL Home Finance Ltd, Monu Ratra. Welcome to the webinar, Mr. Ratra. Mr. Ratra is a veteran in the mortgage industry with nearly 2 decades of experience. He has been a pioneer in building a fintech-enabled affordable housing finance company with best-in-class financial performance. He has spearheaded many initiatives for helping create awareness about sustainable low-cost housing. So a little about the session, we will start with a presentation by Mr. Ratra, and that will be followed by a Q&A in the last 15 minutes. You can keep sending your questions into the chat box. We'll compile these and take them up during the Q&A session. So without any further delay, let's begin today's session.
Thank you, Prachi. Right. Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining over for this webinar. And on a Friday second half, I'm sure even if we're all used to now working from home, but still I'm sure weekends, at least in our minds, do start from Friday afternoon. So thank you so much for joining in for this webinar. So I represent IIFL Home Loans. It's an affordable housing finance company which has been into business for over a decade now, and we've been focusing on absolutely on the affordable housing space, and we have delved into green affordable housing and some thoughts on that. I hope it is insightful for you and would add value to on the subject. And if there are some feedbacks and some questions, would be most welcome. Yeah, so I think so we're going through I'm sure it's a very cliched thing, but I think it's so prominent that I need to start from the current situation and build my case from there. So we are seeing this COVID-19, which is absolutely was an unforeseen things about 3 months back, and today we are all engulfed in that. So apart from the health issues which it is doing, I'm sure we could actually put the global impact on the subject between economic, social, and health as well. The economic impact we all know, we all understand what it is doing by bringing in a lockdown. In terms of the cash flows, in terms of the businesses, what it is doing is quite catastrophic. and this continues to be of a pretty great significance. And we'll see that much after this health epidemic is gone, pandemic is gone, this economic impact should stay even longer. But there's another aspect which we feel will have its very sustainable impact, which is on the social side of it. We are already seeing that our human behavior, our way of engaging, our way of greeting each other, or the way we wish to go about our daily routines is also seeing an impact. And also the social impact would also have a interlinking to the economic impact as well. For example, people might start to prefer using their own vehicles, which might run some businesses out of in a very depreciated state. Like, for example, somebody who's running a taxi service, a co-sharing service, or maybe buses or any other modes of transport which were very much a common public transport. So that's a big challenge which it is putting together. And then there is a health issue, which is we are all aware of. When we put all these things together, whether it is economic or social and health, all these are going to be engulfed into our the way our habitat is going to be built also. So that's why it was very important for us to start from this, that how these all three impacts could have a very far-reaching consequences to the way we design, the way we would like to stay, the way we would like to see our houses to be built and maintained as well. So this social and environment impact is so important to understand. I'm sure a lot of us on this webinar would be students or practicing architects or town planners or somewhere in the realm of construction. Our human spaces have been developed over a period of time, right from ever since it was basis our social needs and our social values, with basis which these spaces were created. So with this current COVID-19, definitely there is a kind of a reset button in terms of how this urban planning needs to be recalibrated and thought over again. Mobility and work from home should become a norm, as we already heard that some of the companies like Twitter has already announced that even post the pandemic, we're going to have all the people working from home. Totally, they'll be working from home. We may not have commercial offices. It could have a consequence on that as well, that our energy requirements from home, which usually are on the lower side, might start to grow up, right? Because you will have more amount of air conditioning, more amount of electricity consumption for other gadgets would also increase. So it would have a fair amount of impact on that, because sometimes those individual household monthly costs could go up as well. Then we are also seeing, as I was speaking to one of the developers, he said very interestingly, he's into affordable housing, and my philosophy says is that as far as lifestyle changes, in the sense that you might have a joint family, but of say 6-7 people, but you were actually a joint family only from maybe 7 or 8 p.m. at night, and maybe 7 a.m. in the morning, or on the weekends. So your joint family was like that. But during this time, we realized that staying together in a joint family with all these people in one household may not be an easy task. So this might change our behavior towards more nuclear setups, and they would like to buy new homes as well. Then there is the third aspect, which is the integrating the blue, green, and the affordable housing infrastructure, the water part of it, and the green and the affordable housing. So there needs to be a very seamless integration for all three of them to ensure that we have a very holistic development. everything has brought about a very dramatic change. As you can see in the footnote of our slide, that the cholera epidemic in the 19th century sparked the introduction of modern urban sanitation system, right? So housing regulations around light and air were introduced suddenly, right? So because the respiratory diseases were going up and the overcrowded slums were causing a lot of concern. So definitely this movement is going to set a very a significant reset button towards the how these habitat is going to be and the demand for these. My estimate says is that we could see an upsurge of affordable housing in this country for two reasons. One could be the affordability factor. People may want to not go in for very plush homes and they would like to go for an affordable home. Also, a very large section of our community which continues to stay in rented or in very congested, densely populated areas. And one of the big reasons why they used to stay was like that was because they wanted to be closer to the place of work, and they wanted to hence stay in the areas irrespective of giving way to not very good environment where they were staying. But that's all going to change if you're going to be working from home. And the kind of issues which we are seeing in the densely populated areas, which are not very well designed, the kind of issues which we can have could have a very far-reaching consequence in terms of what this housing demand in this segment could do. So my take is maybe 6 to 9 months time, this could really mushroom into a very, very big demand for these homes because of these reasons. So we have seen how these environments are changing. Italy has been, especially Europe has already started working towards changing the way they wish to see their cities like. Because now they're realizing is that the people would prefer personal transport. So that would mean that rather than people bringing cars, so we need to make our cities very compatible for bicycles, and hence they are trying to create more convenient spaces for bicycles to go by. Apart from that, they're also widening those paths, and they are in certain places they are even cordoning off the regular movement places and inhibiting them any motorized transport by either pedestrians or the bicycles. Also, we saw that the streets, the walking pavements are being broadened because we need social distancing. So hence, it's undergoing a very, very big metamorphosis in terms of the social spaces, the private spaces in the cities. And you would see that this will in turn have a very, very important aspect of how we are going to design our cities and our housing societies as well. For example, Milan has announced 35 kilometers of streets to be transformed with a rapid experimental citywide expansion of cycling and walking space. So because they also want to control that, because of more people going for individual transport could also increase pollution as well, right? So similar examples which we see is in London. They've opened a part of the seafront only for pedestrians and cyclists, which is there. Again, in London, a lot of the business residents have cordoned off the part of the road outside their shops because either they can have a good distance or they can have the outdoor seating as well. Similarly, we saw in Dublin as well. So what exactly it is telling you? It's telling you that this pandemic, apart from being a health issue, has made everybody thinking in terms of it is in terms of the fact that you wish to have spaces which will be very conducive, right? So that's a pretty important aspect, and the way we design things would change dramatically here on. Obviously, the green construction, for what we are here for, it reduces the pollution carbon emission, stabilizes the living environment, promotes health, and which has a stronger immune system, and which will ensure that we can have a resistance to the pandemics as well. Although some people might have a contrarian view that in India, because of the kind of environments we have, maybe we are more resilient to these pandemics, and hence with God's grace we are still very controlled. But having said that, why should those kind of infections occur at the first time is the road ahead for us as well on this. So this was something which I saw on Twitter today morning, and I really liked it because I think the current tsunami of COVID-19, we might think, oh, this is it, and there can't be anything worse than this, which is there. And we see a tsunami of recession just behind COVID-19. That's the economic part of it, which is very, very true, which is going to be bigger than the COVID-19. And the biggest tsunami of all is going to be climate change. So I like this graphic a lot because it states the obvious, and it has made us, this pandemic, I think, would accelerate after this pandemic people's general awareness towards climate change and its impact. So far, it's been a discussion which has been left to very affluent people, or in the drawing rooms, or in the Lutyens Delhi. But I think it'll need to come down on the ground as well to see that what can this do. So this graphic really tells you what really it is. And I think I'm sure this COVID is a very sad event, but I think there are always bright side to it. I think this will and has already given rise to a very, very strong discussion and debate on climate change, and which is very heartening to hear for people like us who are very sensitive about the subject and who feel very passionately about it. So finally, hopefully, we could be heard in the right places here on. So we come from a global context of what's happening in India. The affordable housing market is what we are trying to showcase here, right? India continues to be a country with a huge amount of population which doesn't have homes at all. The total shortage of homes in the country is expected to be 2 crores. And please remember, this 2 crore number is as per 2011 census. And we have been growing in population as well. So maybe this number could be anywhere close to maybe 3 crores already. But this, even if we go by this number of 2 crores, this is a massive thing which is there. And the other thing which the economic development of this country is doing is it's pushing people to the urban areas. It's just making people to move to the urban areas for livelihood. And we're expecting that by 2030, 40% of India's population could be staying in the urban areas, which means by that time, we could be talking about something like a 60 crore amount of people staying in urban areas. That's the kind of number which we are talking of. And this unfortunate scenes which we see of the migrant labor going back, reverse migration happening, is also shows that the amount of dependency on the urban areas for the livelihood of the Indian population is very, very huge. Right? And one data point more it's a financial data point, but it's important to see is that what is our penetration in terms of the mortgage market, what is the kind of penetration which we have. So we are still far away. The mortgage home loans is just about 20 lakh crores is that's the total amount of home loans in this country, about actually 19 lakh crore as for March 19. And so you can imagine only 20 lakh crore worth home loans have been given in this country. And we were expecting that pace to continue, but yes, I'm sure it will be back pretty soon, that by March 23, this is almost supposed to double to something like 36 lakh crore. Right? So these data points are very important, and it just shows you what kind of rapid development is happening, and it's going to happen in the coming years even more. So it's going to be phenomenal opportunity for people in this space and who also wish to do things in a responsible manner. Out of this 2 crore population homes which we require, 96% are going to be in EWS and LIG category. So you can imagine the amount of homes which need to be built on the EWS and LIG category. And so these are the facts about green affordable housing finance. So we have said that the entire say 1.5 crores of homes which need to be built with 40% rate of urbanization in India, right? So they're going to be 11 crore urban affordable homes have been sanctioned already, and 6.3, 6.4 have already been commenced, and 3.3 have been completed as well, right? 30 lakhs have been completed as well. So there's a huge opportunity for ensuring that if all these homes are built green or they're not built green. So you can see the impact it will have if it is built green, and if it is not, it is what is missing. And I needless to tell this audience that currently the state of green affordable housing in India is absolutely next to nothing. We are absolutely zilch at the moment in as far as when we talk about green affordable housing. Huge opportunity, but at the moment, if we don't do it, remember the biggest tsunami in the end, which is the climate change, can really eat us out on this. So we at IIFL have set ourselves as an entity with a complete profitability. That's our vision, and that's our the part of the ESG initiative which we have. And today we are talking about the environment part of it. Otherwise, the other aspects are employees, organization, society, and environment aspect of this. So we think that this is our vision statement, which engulfs everything what we need to do and what we stand for, and what our values are for us. So it's very easy to reflect yourself onto what exactly you stand for and what you have to do. So we are also aligned to 4 SDGs which are there, right? This is the industry innovation and infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities, and reduced inequalities and climate action. So these are the 4 sustainable development goals as declared by UN that we stand by, and we are making every attempt to go deeper and deeper on this. We have given first-time home buyers 92,000 loans. Out of that, 80,000 were in the affordable segment, and we have provided them, ensured that it was an end-to-end solution which was given to them. We are a highly digital company. We've been working very, very actively on the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana subsidy scheme as well. We have given subsidy to over 38,000 customers. Nearly 900 crores of subsidy has been given as well. And we have given loans to nearly 26,000 people in the informal income segment. You must remember, out of those 1.1 crore homes which we are talking about to be built in cities, 90% of them would be working in the informal segment, and they are a very devoid lot of not being able to get the loans as well. So this has been our proposition for this green affordable housing. For the last 3 years, we have taken upon ourselves to say that how do we make it happen. Once we stepped out in the market and we realized that there is hardly the interesting thing is 96% of the homes have to be EWS LIG, and within that 98% of them which are going to be built are going to be either self-construction or they are going to be developers who are very local, right? So the national names may contribute maybe 2-3% of the total affordable housing in this country. So we realize that the segment which is going to build 98% of homes, they have no idea about green at all, right? So in our country, we have been very synonymous with green only related to hotels or commercial buildings, but it's not been on the affordable side at all, right? So we formed something known as Kutumb. Kutumb is really we do the knowledge sharing. It's a knowledge sharing platform, which I'll be talking about in the later slides. And then we realize that if we have imparted the knowledge, how do we ensure that they will be executed as well? Because as I'm sure a lot of people on this webinar would know that it's a very long drawn and a technical process for people to do this. So we formed Green Value Partner, which ensures the execution and compliance of that. We help you to do that, which we'll be again talking in the further slides. And then finally, we realized that it also requires to complete this whole wagon wheel of policy making as well, which means that there is a lot of policy gap currently which is there. So we formed the acronym is PURPOSE, which is Platform for Green Affordable Housing and Finance through Research, Policy and Technology for Sustainable Ecosystem. So this is an advisory panel which we have created, which will with the thought leaders of the country coming together to ensure what are the recommendations we would be doing. And they would also be taking up innovative products and could be in product development also. So this is our wheel of green for this country for green affordable housing, which comprises of Kutumb, Green Value Partner, and Purpose. So Kutumb has been a very, very, I would say a very proud thing for us. And we feel that somewhere we have also been giving back to the society and contributing somewhere in a small little way. So the target audience for Kutumb are the developers, and these developers are the affordable housing developers. They are not national names. These are very local people who are there. And then we have the technical consultants and the certification entities as well. Mr. Ashok B. Lal has been very kind enough. He's been one of our founders for this, and he's been part of all our Kutumb so far. He comes and gives a design perspective. He comes and talks about the need for green, and with if some of you have heard him, he's a very, very worthy guy to understand the practical nuances of every kind of developer. And he himself has created a lot of quality, affordable homes which have been green certified as well. And there we've been also been engaging with IGBC and IFC Edge, and they've been our partners as well. Then we have had the financial institutions who have been coming together on the stage, like CDC, which is a UK sovereign fund. They also have invested with us. So they have actually started the spark for us to think on those lines. ADB, IFC, and Propaco, they have been coming to on this platform at multiple locations. And then we have the influencers and policy makers, which is the National Housing Bank. We have Climate Bond Initiative, GIZ, which is a German initiative, and in one of the Pune events, we also had the Pune Municipal Corporation people. So this wheel of Kutumb actually is the one which is engulfing everything and which is triggering the thought in terms of the developers as well to make green. So far we have done 5 chapters of Kutumb. They have been in Ahmedabad, Indore, Pune, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. And we've had a tremendous response at all of them. And we have tried to break those myths which they might be having about this green. And it's been very interesting that this set of developers, they work in a segment, because for any initiative to be made successful, it has to be financially feasible, and it has to generate revenue as well. Even if you want to do philanthropy, you have to ensure that your investments go in the right place so that you can do more of philanthropy. So similarly, it has to make economic sense for the developer. So he needs to be fully aware of how exactly this works. And we have been engaging with various certification entities also to see that how we can make it more conducive for us. So we have had a great run in Kutumb, and the response has been unbelievable. Because why we started Kutumb was that when we started otherwise we are a housing finance company, we should just be funding green homes. But when we went out and searching for green affordable homes, there were none. So we said that we are going to be the demand makers of this, and we are going to be the flagship people who will create this awareness also to them, because anyways we do work with these developers for our regular home loan business. So this was a great synergy which we thought we could do and add value to them as well. So the next part of this is our green value partner. This, as I told you, is the second part of the execution and implementation. once we get people who have been interested in building green homes, then these green value partner team takes over. And in this, we have 9 GVPs whom we are calling as green value partners. They have been certified by IGBC Lead and Edge. So they understand the sum. They are on roles. They work with us. They're architects, green architects, or civil engineers who have fair knowledge on this subject. And this journey of hand-holding the developer starts right from the concept stage to design development to construction stage, and then completion, and then the finally sustainable living. Right. Again, being a financial institution, this seems a very technical job otherwise, but we are very, very passionate about this, and we don't mind adding this facet to our business as well. So these people get once in Kutumb, people show interest, then these GVPs go out and meet them in person individually, and then they try to walk them through the whole process of getting registered and then finally making a green home, right? So recommendation on rating to be adopted, that's the first step, and certification level to be obtained, what levels you want to obtain. Then we undergo a technical due diligence for them, get the certification entities to speak to these developers. So then the pre-certification happens, and then the green rating consultants come into being. Then we ensure that we are going to execute and monitor right through, and the final certification. So GVPs are something which we think are the final nail which you need to ensure that we connect all the dots, and then we can ensure a complete thing. Because the challenges which we are seeing on the ground is also of capacity, technical capacity available for these people, these developers who are building these affordable homes, and the technical know-how which is not available to their workforce, and their concern of cost overruns is very, very sensitive on that part. But now we see there's a lot of unknown things which they are not aware of, like there are a lot of incentives by some state governments by making green, and also how easily it can be done. It might sound a very complex thing if you don't know about it. Once you know, then it's a very easy thing to do. And this is what really happens on this, that the Kutumb generates the resources, and then the developer through our sales team or other miscellaneous channels will propose to the green value partner, who comes in person, meets the developer, and then this whole journey of the GVP happens, as I discussed with you earlier as well. So this is something which completes our entire circle. And this is again how the green certification really happens. People need to be told on various facets that this could be something which you could use a USP for your property as well. So how you can really make it happen, higher marketability, what are the incentives by the government. We also provide finance to the developers at a better pricing if you are building green, right? And then you're also part of representing the larger global situation as well, and the customers can see the operational savings coming their way. So all in all, it's what we feel has been missing so far has been one pivot on which this has to be made into reality. So we are just trying to we are attempting that could we be the pivot to connect all the dots and to provide. I'm sure we are too small and too insignificant to really make a difference, but for sure we can start a spark to this revolution. I'm sure we earlier had a green revolution which was on agriculture. Now I think we need to have a green affordable housing revolution, which I think at some years down the line people might say that IIFL was the pioneer for the same, right? So this is one case study which we had, which we have, which is of Migsun. This is a project in NCR, which is there. So a lot of times we have seen is that people start off as green, and then later on they don't make green, right? Because there was nobody to handhold of them, and nobody was really to guide them what we need to do, what are the final nuances you need to do for certification, right? So this is a classic case of that, where the project was fairly done. They had also started those things initially, but they just left it in between. So our GVP partners came in contact with them. We were already having a great relationship with them on the retail financing, but we took it upon ourselves that why can't we have this amazing, this is all affordable, very below 12-15 lakhs homes. So you really love to see that if you can create something of a good environment for such people, I'm sure we can have a very much more sound sleep on that at that night, right? So we ensured, this GVP partners ensured that this became a reality for them, and it was a project achieved 74 points out of 74, and none of the credits were denied because they needed somebody to guide them, educate them, and conclude. So this has been a great example for us, and this could be an inspiration for lots and lots of developers. And this also tested our GVP team that what it is capable of doing. Right. So it was a project which was getting made, but it was stalled from a green building perspective. So we started it up, and there were a lot of gaps between the consultant and the project team. We bridged those gaps, right? And then the additional FAR benefits were also discussed, right? So just by, we consulted the project team to change the glass, which gave them 4 points for IGBC rating, but it can also save a lot of cost because the kind of glass we used. And finally, we got 74 on 74. So this is one of the examples we just wanted to share with you, that what can be done and what this GVP as a concept can do, which is, we think, is very powerful, and can make a lot of difference, right? This is a quick about IIFL. We have about 1.24 lakh customer base of ours. We have given subsidy to 900 crores to nearly 38,000 plus customers. Just to share with you this perspective, because some of you may not be familiar with the financial aspect of this. If somebody has a 12 lakh loan, through this subsidy, he can get 2.6 lakhs back. That means literally his loan can be reduced by almost by about, say about 20% of his loan can be reduced. So it's so powerful. This is one of the best schemes of the government, and as it is, construction is something which can help all the causes as well. And we have another 5,000 cases worth 100 crores, so we should cross 1,000 crores very soon. We are present in 126 branches, and we have an AUM of about 18,500 crores. As a part of our response to this, we have also taken upon ourselves that we adopt certain sites, builder sites. We have adopted 5 project sites in the phase 1, where we will be undergoing this COVID response, that what should be the way in which they need to work, and they take care of those things. And we are adopting 4 or 5 sites for this as well, and to ensure that end to end those laborers are also having the best of knowledge and facilities to overcome this pandemic, and they can earn their living also at the same time. And so we are a housing finance company which has been very active in this affordable housing space. We are very strong proponent. We believe the informal sector is the real segment which needs loans the most, and that is where the largest opportunity lies, and they're the most deserving people. So we have projects like Swaraj in home loans, and for small businesses we also provide small loans to kickstart their businesses, which is called Samman. So we are an entity with all around products available to us. So this is that team which we are very proud of. So we, on the left, you can see is the ESG team. Ajay Jaiswal, he heads that with Amira and Tapasya, who are part of the ESG team. On the right side, you can see the GVPs whom we have. Amor Cool, he's a green architect, so he's leading this team entirely, and he's been a pioneer in our putting this thread together and making this team into a reality. And then we have everybody. Vamsi, he's a civil engineer. Ravi, again a civil engineer, and Tarun and Chiru and Rajat, Kuldeep are all civil engineers, and Bobby, who heads our construction finance business, engages with the developers, because when we give construction finance loans, we are trying to convince them to make green. So this is a small presentation from my side. from IIFL HFC side. Now, I would request if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thanks, Mr. Ratra. I think that was a great presentation, and you really took us through the journey of IIFL and gave a very clear picture of the affordable housing sector and the many opportunities in it. Let's just do a quick poll to find out, what all our viewers got from this session so far. So I'm just going to launch a quick poll here. Right, so I think you can see the question on the screen. It is, which type of homes are set to dominate the housing sector in India? And I think close to 100% of our viewers agree that it's the low income housing, like you've been telling us. In fact, you mentioned that it is as high as 90% of the future segment. So that's really a big number there. So I just had a question for Mr. Ratra from my end. Affordable housing is especially important for developing countries in their, agenda for development. So are there any precedents that, you may have come across in your work and experience of this happening in other countries as well, where, they had success in green affordable housing programs across the nation?
Yeah. So here, what we have seen is that we came across an example of South America. So in Colombia, so we did see that Bank Colombia did a very similar thing a couple of years back, wherein they engaged with the developers. So Colombia in India has a lot of similarity in terms of the kind of demographics and the kind of sensibilities which are there. So they also came up with a green bond, and which was targeted for these developers, and they encouraged them to build green, and they were given some SOPs for building green, and they also set up a technical team. So there is a precedent which is there, which we have seen. So I think we have to agree to this fact that this is something the government cannot do with a country as large as India. So it has to be taken up on by the private sector people to this mantle of making it happen. So there are global examples where it has been fairly been successful. The rest, I think we can only give a start. After that, if the regulations will be there and the people will get have a rub off, I'm sure then it catches fire.
Right, that does sound right. So there are many more questions coming in from our attendees. So let me read them out to you one by one.
Sure.
So the first question is a
Sorry, can't hear you.
Beyond that.
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
The question is, am I audible now?
Yeah, this is better.
Okay, great. So I'll just repeat the question. It is affordable housing and green housing well suited to high-rise buildings?
Yeah, so if I understood correctly, your question is green building suited to high-rise building? Is green homes suitable to high-rise? Is that your question?
Yes.
So actually, yeah, so actually, I'm sure there'll be a lot of technical people here who will understand. You see, the problem with high-rise is that the moment you go higher in the height, the cost of construction goes up. And if the cost of construction goes up, the affordability factor, you must understand the first in green affordable, you are trying to tackle two situations and two problems. The first problem is it has to remain affordable. And the green is a second problem. You can't ignore the first problem and only cater the second problem. Then you will never make it. So technically, high rises are not recommended because otherwise the costs go up and that's when they can be detrimental for any developer to go for it. So as Mr. Ashok Bilal in his presentation always talks, that low rise is the best answer for both from affordability standpoint and also for making affordable green as well, because the requirements of compliances of high rise, even for green, for high rise, then also go up and the costs go up. So if possible, stay low rise to make green, because
Right.
because unlike a premium project where people won't mind paying 500 rupees square feet extra, here 50 rupees per square feet extra can make or break a deal.
That's right. So let's go on to the next question. Uh, so we know the efficiency increased by greenhousing, but um, so architects and green building consultants play a role in making green buildings too. So what is the role IIFL plays in that?
See, yeah, so I think what has happened is that I think there is going to be and there is already a huge uh, void of consultants and green architects, which I think we need in this country to enable them. So what IIFL is doing is, we understand that we have these GVPs, and once we scale up and we have a lot of projects, we wish to engage with these green architects across the country on a maybe on a project to project basis, where they can actually be the subset of the GVP program, and so that each and every project can see through. So we would be the ones who can create the need for the developer to go for this, where we can finance them as well, get them the initial process of GVPs, because we have finite set of people if the number of projects go large. So we wish to work together with lots and lots of green architects across the country, who we would like to collaborate with to oversee such projects. So that's how our vision is. But first things first, we wanted to do it ourselves, and then once the project numbers go very large, we would definitely engage with the private architects who would be interested in this.
Right. Here's another question about your role. It is, does IIFL provide finance for building materials retailers?
No, we are a pure play. Either we will provide finance for people to buy a house, either we will provide a finance to people to build a project to a developer, or if any businessman wants a loan, he has to mortgage a property to us, and against that we can do. But there is no other means of financing which we provide.
Right. And could you comment on the avenues in the financing of single family homes or four dwelling unit residential blocks? And the context is in South India. So I think the question is, does IIFL finance single family homes or smaller sized residential blocks as well?
Yeah, so we don't restrict ourselves. We've been in South, we have great presence, especially in Andhra. In Andhra, we are present in about 28 locations. Telangana, we are present in Hyderabad, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, we have good presence. In ROK, in Karnataka, we have present in about 10 locations. So we love to do financing for those small homes. That's our core, and we are very much only interested in small homes. We love to do loans for 5 lakh, 10 lakhs. So that's our space, and we don't like to do more than 30-40 lakhs loans. So this is the sweet spot for us. Surely we do these retail loans for a single family homes as well.
Right. And just as a follow-up question, I think there might not be a specific answer for this question, but just it'd be nice to hear your thoughts. What would be the optimum density for affordable housing?
So I think density is again, as I told you, it's a complex subject. Why? Because the main ingredient, as I told you earlier as well, affordable homes, the first problem is the price. Then it is about green, right? So if you move the density down, then obviously the land prices become unaffordable. That is why one of the big reasons for these lot of these schemes of affordable homes, so-called, they are so far away from the cities, and they almost remain unoccupied, because the occupation is in the heart of the city, and the place where you build affordable homes is some 50, 70, 80, 100 kilometers away. So I'm a personal proponent that you have to allow higher density for sure, and as much as possible. Obviously, you have to see the load onto the public amenities and the public services, but you should look at maximum density so that the affordable people can stay close by. One of the classic cases which I see is that, for example, we have our office in Gurgaon, and Haryana has come up with this affordable housing scheme, which I think is a very novel concept, and it's very, very good, where they are these housing societies are right in middle of the sectors where you will have the other homes as well, right? So they are being from a good developer, they are being taken up pretty fast, like absolutely very, very quickly. And government has capped the price at which you can sell. So we need many more such schemes where homes are right amongst the middle of where everybody else lives. Only then it is sustainable.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for sure. Um, and just continuing, the discussion on your program, do you also recommend the green initiatives or guidelines that need to be adopted? For example, any specific rating system?
We've been working with all the multiple agencies, because what we have seen is that even the certifying agencies are also evolving. First, they never had a separate norms for the affordable homes. Now they have separate norms for affordable homes, and so that they become price competitive. So we work with everyone. We work with IGBC, we're working with Greha, we're working with Edge. So we are agnostic to it, that whom we work with. But I'm sure, because that segment is also evolving, but we don't insist on any specific certification agency to work with. But I'm sure some of them are more proactive than the others. That's a natural leaning you might get for them, but otherwise we are agnostic to it.
Great. And I
Actually,
think we have,
uh,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Yep. So we are also coming up with a small handbook, green handbook, which should be out in some time. Because of this pandemic, it got deferred, which will be a green handbook of small ready recna, which has been curated by Ashok B. Lal sir along with us, which will give them a big basic sense of to every developer, that how to make green, and basic material design, and basic cost things would be available to them to know of it. So in a month's time, we should be out with that as well. That's a part of our purpose segment.
Yeah, that'd be a great resource. I think, handbook is a great thing to get a sense of, what the project might entail. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. And we have time just for one quick last question, and which is, how is the pandemic going to change the state of the housing sector and the green affordable housing sector in India? I know you did mention that there's a very high chance that staying at home might make people question the design of their homes, and they might want to buy new houses. But how would you
I
sum
think
that?
yeah, yeah. So I think you have to split this into two parts. One is because for in affordable housing, it is the most important and the largest financial decision in the lives of people, maybe once in a lifetime. So maybe in the short run, maybe next 2-3 months, you may not see that so much action, but I'm sure this pandemic has sown the seed in the minds of the people that they need to stay in better environment, for sure. So that sensitivity to all these aspects will be very heightened, which was till yesterday was ignored, right? So I think that will give a push to organized affordable housing, right? So that means new homes should pick up. Uh, it might take 6 months, but I think it should definitely see a lot of demand. Number one. Number two, as I said earlier as well, that the people who may not be maybe wanting to buy a 40-50 lakh home, they might want to buy a 25-30 lakh home. That will further create a demand for people to look at it, right? And these, I think this joint families might buy 2 homes next to each other, but that will create a demand for that. So I see it is absolutely inevitable that this housing demand can slacken in this country. The deficit is enormous. It is just enormous. I told you there is only 20 lakh crore of worth home loans in this country till date. It is a shocking number, which is a nothing number at all, right? So you can imagine in this. As of now, we have just covered the tip. Maybe the top 2% of people have got home loans so far. Rest 98% is without a home. That's why you have requirement of more than 2 crore homes. So I see a phenomenal thing there. And I think green is going to become a prerequisite, right? Today you're talking about for cars, automobiles, what are the standards of which are there, right? So I think green would become a prerequisite. Anybody who's a late starter might get left out and might be pushed to the wall. So I think it's never been more brighter for green and affordable in this country till now ever. So this is the best time, and with the government supporting with the subsidy, it is enormous. So you should see some drip. Maybe today when I'm saying these things, you might say that, okay, we are all COVID surrounded, but I think you just wait for 3 to 6 months, things will catch fire.
That's very well put. I think it's time for us to close the session, but I think you gave such a great insight into the future of affordable green housing, and we're all going to go back with a lot of food for thought. I certainly will keep the picture of the tsunamis in my mind for a long time. That was a really good picture. So before we end the webinar, I just have a couple of announcements to make. Our next webinar is going to be on waste management during the pandemic. So if you're having questions about how to handle the waste, in your residences or your offices or even across municipalities, this session is for you. This webinar will help you understand the opportunities and challenges of the current machinery in India for tackling waste, also amidst the COVID pandemic. So we'll be posting the link to register for that very soon out on our social media. So do keep a watch on it. If you haven't already, do subscribe to the NZEB portal. This is your one-stop platform for everything net zero. You'll find case studies, you'll find help tools and resources for your projects, and a lot more. And if you'd like to stay updated with the latest in the world of NZEB, please sign up for our newsletter on our website. Every month we send global updates, case studies, as well as a lot of learning resources to help you get started on NZEB projects. And you can view all our previous webinars on the NZEB India YouTube channel. There is a lot of content on design, technology, policy, and skills for high-performance design. Today's session has been recorded and it will be published on the channel very soon. So that was today's session. Thanks a lot for joining in. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.